Good morning, this is John Feldt, and this is the Tropical Storm Issac Daily Briefing. Well, let's take a look at the satellite picture. This is a visible satellite picture. You can definitely tell it's a tropical system with the rotation around the circulation. Still don't see much of an eye, but you can see a very clear circulation around the center of the rotation there. You can see some outer bands rotating around, streaming onshore. The dry air I talked about yesterday is still there off to the east. So it's still a tropical storm, very broad circulation, and it's moving much slower than we saw yesterday. Now here's the moisture channel, and moisture obviously is a very big deal when we're looking at hydrometeorology and the potential for heavy rain or flooding. And what you see here is how broad the circulation really is. We're having inflow into the Carolinas off the Atlantic associated with an easterly flow. And actually we have some minor flooding up in that area due to some localized heavy rain. The colors here are showing the deeper moisture, and you can see the deepest moisture with Issac is located very close to the center of circulation, as well as some of the outer bands. The radar shows that as well. We can see the streaming outer bands pushing in. There's several of them here. There's one that's moving into the Carolinas, South Carolina. Another one coming in here right through the central part of Georgia into Alabama. It doesn't look like much, but some of that rain can produce very heavy rainfall amounts over very localized areas. The rainfall from Issac, the actual main band, is just beginning to push in, and we have many, many hours. Now keep in mind the radar's not seeing the outer parts of the rainfall because the radar doesn't go that far. So New Orleans, Louisiana, southern Mississippi, Alabama, northwest Florida will have days of heavy rain as it's moving so slow. Okay, so how much rain has already fallen with this system? Right now, remember the rain brushed Florida. You can see the streakiness from south to north. The heaviest rain was in the Metro Miami urban area. Palm Beach received a record amount of rainfall for the month of August. You can see that red streak there. That's an estimated up to 6 inches of rain. Right along the coast is a little bit less. But still, that was the heaviest rain so far. We're going to see a lot more as it pushes in towards New Orleans and on the Gulf Coast. Okay, here's the track. I think there's more and more confidence now. The last 2, 3, 4 days, we discussed different options on where it might go. I think there's more confidence now on this track. And this is a pretty common track once a system moves in, moves to the north like this when there's a weak upper flow. And currently the winds are 70 miles an hour, just below a Category 1 hurricane. And it might get that. It's forecast to get that into a Category 1 before landfall. And the movement is northwest at 7, so it's not moving all that fast. And of course that means there's an enhanced potential for flooding. The rainfall forecast, there have been some changes since yesterday. The axis of heavy rain is pretty consistent now, with the heaviest rain pushing in along the coastline, immediate onshore from where Issac makes landfall. Very heavy rain in that area, 8 to 15 inches of rain. And matter of fact, localized, it's going to be 30 inches of rain along the immediate coast. Tremendous amounts of rain with this wet system, broad system, slow-moving system. Then as it moves up to the north across Arkansas, Missouri, and even Illinois and Indiana, very heavy rainfall in that region as well. Many of those regions actually could use this rain. This could be very welcome. More scattered rain over Georgia, Alabama, and the Carolinas, and that'll be primarily due to those inflows from the Atlantic. More scattered, more localized. Now here's a model. It's a short-term model. We look at short-term models and longer-term models. This is a short-term model late today, and you can see not a whole lot of change late today. So the story today, Tuesday, is going to be slowly moving in along the south coasts of Alabama, northwest Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, but no big changes, just slowly moving in. And then the outer bands rotating through. In this case, the model's hinting of 4 separate bands, one over Virginia, one over North Carolina, one from South Carolina to Georgia, and then one again over Florida. Now that one over South Carolina and Georgia, we'll have to keep an eye on that. Sometimes these relatively not all that impressive type bands, they can sit there for many hours and we can get heavy rainfall. It's going to be in a very localized area, but it's saying that that band that's over there now is going to be persistent on and off throughout the day. Now here's another model. This is a longer term model, and this shows the next 5 days rainfall, and it shows where it's really concentrated over that little area and then beginning up to pull up to the north. So I think that's going to be the big story with this, from the Gulf Coast up through northward, up through Arkansas, eventually Missouri, and then off to the northeast. Now, as far as main stem river flooding goes, right now, because it's been fairly dry further north and the rainfall tapers off, most of the significant flooding, and the significant flooding is orange and red, is located along the immediate coast and then in the Tampa area, some scattered spots in North Carolina as well. This will probably change over the next couple days, but keep in mind it's very dry once we get into Arkansas on north, and probably we can go 4, 5, 6 inches of rain before it becomes a problem up there. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a few spots in Mississippi, more flooding as we get through. But the significant flooding, the most significant flooding will be along the Gulf Coast. Now this is a graph that, or image that's pretty hard to see. And what I've done here is I've overlaid the drought monitor, where the drought is, with the rainfall forecast. I'm going to outline roughly where the most extensive drought is, so you can see it a little bit better. So this area here is in a pretty significant drought, as this area in Georgia. Now if you look at the rainfall forecast, here's the track of heaviest rain. It's coming right up here and then curving off. So you can sort of see, once it gets into Arkansas, Missouri, and Illinois, we have that heavy rain going right over the core of drought. That's going to be like a giant sponge. It's going to soak that up. It's going to be a very welcome rainfall. Likewise, there's some rain here. So it's not a lot, but there's some rain moving over the area of drought in Georgia, and that's going to be very welcome as well. So this Issac is going to produce flooding, generally in the area down here. And many other areas we're going to see welcome rainfall, and it's going to alleviate drought conditions. Anyway, that's the briefing from Blue Water Outlook. Again, I'm John Feldt. If you have any questions on this, feel free to email me at info@bluewateroutlook.com. I will be updating this later today with an afternoon or early evening hydrometeorological briefing. Thank you for listening.